Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to this special edition of Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Geraldine Torellis.
And I'm Mackenzie Hamill. Thank you for joining us. Tonight we're taking an in-depth look at our Cronkite News Borderlands Project in Tapachula, Mexico. A team of students and their professors traveled to the region, which is the first stop in Mexico for those crossing from Guatemala. Many of them hoping to head to the United States seeking a better life. But the Mexican Commission of Refugee Assistance and the National Institute of Migration are overwhelmed with the number of people who need to begin the process to live and work in the state. Because of this backlog, thousands of migrants are trapped. In protest against the Mexican government's slow to action to process asylum and work visas, some sew their mouths shut, start fires, and blockade roads. In some cases, migrants have been stuck in the city for months. Drake Presto finds out why those migrants are doing anything to search for a better life.
In March of this year, there has been an estimated 30,000 immigrants waiting for refugee status in Mexico. 63% of those applications have been filed in the city of Tapachula.
Tapachula no es una ciudad, la infraestructura es muy reducida.
Organizamos, hacemos la fila, créame que
To understand why so many immigrants are stuck in Tapachula, Mexico, we have to understand U.S.-Mexico relations and how their policies affect real people on the ground.
Así que no sé de dónde son, pero nosotros queremos salir de acá, o queremos quedar acá.
From Central and South Americans to Haitians, Indians, and Africans, these people have lives outside of being an immigration statistic. Their focus is on a better life, and to achieve that life, they'll go through any means necessary to succeed.
Ahí sí yo creo que sería bueno mejor si no grabar y o sea, a lo mejor como no hay manera de guardar la cámara para entrar allá.
Is there a way that we can
Sin embargo, lo que también no se habla mucho pues es cómo las personas acá, siendo Tapachula un lugar también donde si bien ha transitado mucha gente, es un lugar donde no hay condiciones para recibir a mucha gente.
hay que escuchar bien que se les va a entregar sus documentales.
Es como una ciudad que no tiene la infraestructura para recibir a tanta población. Y eso habla también de que el gobierno mexicano mucho la visión que tiene es de seguir manteniendo a la gente aquí en el sur, retrasar el proceso, digamos, de las solicitudes de condición de refugio. Hay mucha gente aquí que lleva 6 meses, un año, año y medio, ¿no? Y hay
Yeah, it's very racist. It's not nice to please. It's Panama not have the problem. Guatemala, Costa Rica, Nicaragua is not have the problem. Now you come to here, it's have the lot of problem. 2 months to here. It's difficult for me. I don't have money. Money is finished. I live in a hotel.
miles y miles de personas que están aquí en el sur siguen teniendo aspiraciones de llegar a Estados Unidos, aunque las posibilidades ya no son claras. El asunto ahora es preguntarnos si México también tiene las condiciones para recibir esta población. Lo que hemos visto es que muchas instituciones están saturadas, los organismos internacionales de pronto también, con mucho más carga de trabajo. Y muchas personas que están acá, lo que tenemos ahorita en el Parque Bicentenario es pues, personas en condición de calle, o sea que al no haber un espacio están acá esperando y no saben cuánto tiempo van a esperar. Es decir, muchas de las personas que están acá no sabemos cuándo van a pasar.
Porque no somos de este país y hay muchas personas que los critican y los humillan y creen que nosotros somos dañinos, pero no somos dañinos, solo vamos de pasada. Incluso migración, en veces viene a rodear y viene a decirle a la gente mentiras y los suben a los buses y se los llevan. Ahorita recogieron como 200, dicen hace poco, no, hace como 20 días. Los engañaron y se los mandaron para allá.
Uno no puede durar 3 meses pagando 250,000 pesos diarios en un hotel.
¿Y tu dinero?
De mi dinero. Del dinero viene el presidente de México para acá con los embajadores de Estados Unidos.
El 8 se organiza para lo del 11.
Dejen el número con salir de aquí. Si tú sales de esta plaza, corres el riesgo de que migraciones sí o sí te golpee, te maltrate. Te afuera, inmigración no te haga actividad.
Tapachula está vista por muchas, en todo el mundo se identifica ya que somos una ciudad que está albergando el tema migratorio y que a pesar de todo lo hemos sabido embatir, a pesar de las necesidades que ya las teníamos antes de la migración, pero pues incrementan con el número de migrantes que estamos recibiendo, pero hay que tratar de enfocarlo a que nos vaya mejor y que ojalá en un futuro, y así con todo el apoyo federal que hemos tenido, con el apoyo, en la forma en que la presidenta también ha albergado este tema, que es buscar los recursos allá afuera en lugar de ponernos nada más estar sentados.
Queremos solución.
Personas, pero también muchas de estas personas están siendo perseguidas.
Y lo hice en la cárcel.
Un alto a la cacería
Y yo estoy seguro que van a traer muy buenas noticias. El presidente, a raíz de la primera caravana, hizo obras de inversión en Tapachula. Lo vamos a tener esta semana por acá y estoy seguro que va a anunciar cosas que también nos van a traer cosas buenas.
¡Libertad, libertad! ¡Libertad, libertad!
Queremos salir de acá, queremos sobrevivir. Estamos por ayudar a la familia, no estamos por quedar acá este lugar. ¿Qué pasa?
Sí, yo creo que también lo que las protestas pues reflejan un poco también ese sentimiento de desesperación de la gente. Mucha de esta gente está esperando una cita y al ver que mucha población haitiana también, que sus trámites no avanzan, pues hay una desesperación, porque también, digamos, el recurso con el que subsisten acá en Tapachula, pues a veces se les agota, es mínimo. Hemos visto también que mucha población también pues se ha cansado también de esperar.
Every day, people on both sides of the Suchiate River, which separates Guatemala and Mexico, float across or wade through the water to make a living. They do a number of things, like transporting goods, and they rely on one another economically. I took a closer look at the relationship between these border towns and how similar they are to Ambos Nogales. That's the area between Arizona and Sonora, Mexico, along the U.S. southern border.
Since our arrival here at the Mexico and Guatemala border, we have seen a steady stream of people crossing this river. I am standing on the Mexican side of the border where people from both sides are here to work. People are navigating the rafts and, like you can see behind me, transferring goods from the other side.
Más lo que yo paso es la canasta básica.
More of what I bring is the typical basket, more than anything. I bring dairy products to make ham sandwiches. Basically, that's it.
Hacer torta de jamón. Casi solo eso.
Dionisio Cifuentes was born in Guatemala and is now living on the Mexican side of the border. He was only 10 years old when he started working here. Other Guatemalan citizens who live in their home country cross the Suchiate River every day to work on the other side. They either huddle on a raft to float across or walk through the water. There is a long history of movement between Mexico and Guatemala. Guatemalans have been traveling to Mexico to do agricultural work since the 19th century, according to a study by researcher Jessica Natalia Najera Aguirre. Approximately 250,000 Guatemalan workers cross the border to go into Mexico every year. Andrew Bahena, who lives in Tapachula, is aware of the situation at the border and its history.
Yeah, there's just a lot of interesting ties, and these go back a long time, which is different, certainly, than some of like the relationships we see between locals and like Honduran migrants, for example, or Salvadoran migrants or Haitian migrants, who, you know, have kind of started to come in bigger numbers at different times, but certainly not as long-standing as like the Guatemalans.
A large presence of migrants crossing the Mexico and Guatemala border caused a bit of a disruption to the regular flow of workers. According to Cifuentes, this had an impact on the work that he does.
The immigration agents from Mexico are controlling this place, with bilateral agreements between both Ciudad Tecún and Ciudad Hidalgo. We can move freely, but they can't. The undocumented. They grab them. They take them to prison. But yes, the commerce did come down because of the caravans. They even came here to throw rocks, to destroy things.
Pero sí bajó bastante el comercio por motivo de lo que es las caravanas, pues incluso aquí vinieron a agredir, a tirar piedras, a hacer destrozos, pues.
Migrants along the border and in the city of Tapachula have held many protests. Many are frustrated at long wait times to be processed in southern Mexico to make their way north. The large amount of migrants passing through the Suchiate River has subsided due to immigration officials cracking down on them. However, this has had unintended consequences.
Ya no es el mismo. Se empieza a restablecer.
It's not the same anymore. It starts to reestablish a little bit, but it's no longer like before. The people get scared. They don't come. And that is why now it has gone down a lot. The people don't come anymore. People get scared because they're going to take them to jail. This is why the work decreased.
Just as issues related to migration have changed things along the Mexico and Guatemala border, sister cities along the border Mexico shares with the U.S. have also been impacted. Similar to towns along the Suchiate River that separate Guatemala and Mexico, people travel across the U.S. and Mexico border for a number of reasons. In 2011, the cities of Nogales in Arizona and Sonora, Mexico, signed a sisterhood agreement. Many residents from Nogales, Sonora, come to Arizona to shop and vice versa.
Things have changed, but we still have that trade, that friendship, and opportunities to shop in Nogales, Sonora, and they have opportunities to come and shop over here too. But it's always been that way.
Increased border security has changed the regular flow of people going in and out of Arizona, causing long wait times for Mexican citizens to be let in, which may lead some to turn around and not shop for the day. Whether it's cities along the U.S. and Mexico border or farther down south of the border of Mexico and Guatemala, these communities are intricately connected by their proximity, economic interdependence, and shared cultures despite rivers or walls that may separate them.
Every year, tens of thousands of migrants cross into Mexico, fleeing poverty, violence, and natural disasters in their home countries. Those who cross Mexico's southern border must wait to receive permits to travel across the country or for their asylum request in Mexico to be processed. As days turn into months, migrants have grown tired of the living conditions and long waits for documentation. In March, migrants turned to protest and formed a new caravan to shine a light on their situation, as Emily Miranda reports.
In recent months, protests have become a sign of desperation. Migrants grow tired as they wait daily outside the Mexican Commission for Refugee Assistance, also known as COMAR. Their goal? To submit an asylum application in the hope of receiving refugee status. This status would allow them to access jobs, healthcare, and the ability to apply for permanent residency. However, many claim that while they wait for a decision, they are not issued proper documentation.
Estamos aquí para ver si nos dan la CUR más pronto, más que todo por los niños. Estamos con los niños, estamos en situación que si no nos dan la CUR no podemos trabajar. Mi esposo no está trabajando y tenemos dos niños.
After submitting an application, migrants are to be issued 2 documents. One is a constancia, or certificate. This is proof of starting the asylum process. It provides temporary legal status as cases are processed. The second is a temporary unique population registration code, or a CURP. With this, migrants can access public services. They can also ask the National Institute of Migration, or INM, for a visitor card for humanitarian reasons. The card will allow them to work during the process. Unfortunately, many of the protesters lack these documents, making it hard to live.
Very sad what's going on here with them promising them paperwork. They take them all day. They keep them from like 7 in the morning till like 11 o'clock at night. And they do not go ahead and provide what they're promising.
Migrants are growing tired of waiting. Comar is facing an overwhelming number of asylum seekers. In the first 3 months of 2022, Mexico saw an increase in arrivals. One official describes the situation for the agencies involved in the process.
Pero pues también con la cantidad de personas que eso implicó que llegara también el año pasado, pues hace que hay muchas presiones que están teniendo tanto el país como la misma Tapachula y la Comar acá para resolver los casos, que tarda más tiempo de lo que se prevé en la ley, en el sentido de que pues hay mucho más gente.
Much of this increase is the result of U.S. policy and pressure. Former President Donald Trump threatened to impose a 5% tariff on Mexico if it did not stop migrants from reaching the U.S. In response, President Andrés Manuel López Obrador sent the National Guard to the southern border to help immigration officials. Additionally, the Trump administration used Title 42, a policy that closed the U.S. border to asylum seekers due to COVID-19. This ultimately allowed Trump to expel thousands of migrants. The cases are backlogged, and migrants have grown tired of the treatment they face while waiting.
Es fuerte. Aquí no hay derecho para nosotros, para ningún emigrante que estamos aquí. Aquí, si estamos en la calle con este papel o con el otro que nos dan, nos agarra migración y nos lleva al siglo XXI. Si allá hacemos protesta, nos golpean, nos encierran, o eso pasa. Allá no hay derechos humanos. Allá.
Across town, tensions turned to violence. Outside the National Institute of Migration, protesters demanded that officials speed up the process of issuing humanitarian or QR code visas. This allows non-asylum seekers to legally move through Mexico. The protest led up to the visit of President López Obrador on March 11th. During his press conference, protesters marched to his location. A representative from INM announced that visas would be provided to the group. Inside, President López Obrador did not address the crowd, but spoke of a recently launched initiative. It aims to reduce Central American migration through economic opportunity. Yet Tapachula has seen an increase in migrants from around the world.
La mejor respuesta al fenómeno migratorio es lo que estamos nosotros planteando desde hace mucho tiempo y llevando a cabo. El que haya trabajo en Centroamérica, que nuestros hermanos centroamericanos tengan oportunidades de trabajo, mejores condiciones de vida. Y esto para Centroamérica y para el Caribe y para el mundo.
Growing tired, many attempt to leave the city, but it is not without risk. There is the potential of ending up in Siglo XXI. This is Mexico's largest detention center. One migrant who spent time in Siglo had this to say about the situation.
Te ignoran, te humillan, o sea, nos tratan mal. Los inmigrantes nos tratan de la patada, como si fuéramos unos animales, prácticamente. Porque no tenemos derecho.
Yet many are willing to run the risk. A group of migrants has become the latest in a series of caravans trying to escape the city.
Ya hay personas también que ya se les agotó el recurso, entonces nos toca salir a pedir en la calle y la migración nos agrede a nosotros por salir a pedir, porque es que ya no tenemos recursos, cómo seguir acá, no tenemos trabajo, nos piden la visa y no nos agilizan nuestros procesos, entonces es algo que nos ven como, ¿cómo le explico? Como no apto para andar en la sociedad, porque ya nos miran como ladrones.
The new caravan departed from Mexico City on April 1st. Shortly after departing, approximately 500 migrants clashed with the National Guard and immigration officials. Some were detained while others made it through to continue their journeys. In Tapachula, Emily Miranda, Cronkite News.
Migration through Tapachula has a long-standing history, but I found out that the atmosphere is not the same as it has been in the past.
sleeping on top of flattened cardboard boxes, bathing out in the open using a water bottle, little access to food and clean water. This is the reality for hundreds of migrants in the city of Tapachula.
They don't give us a glass of water. There's none. We have to go around there and grab water from over there. A water pipe that is over there. We have to grab water to drink. How do I know if it's good? How do I know if it's bad? But they don't care. They don't care. I want you to know that what I'm talking about is the reality of what we're living as human beings in life.
But why are there so many migrants in Tapachula? Mexico as a whole is serving as a border between the U.S. and the rest of the Americas. This dates back to 2019 during Donald Trump's presidency, where he threatened 5% tariffs on Mexican goods if they didn't stop the flow of migrants from coming to the U.S. border. This led to Mexico's president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, to militarize the border between Mexico and Guatemala and ultimately keep migrants from traveling past Tapachula. The Biden administration has surprised some of its supporters with the way that immigration issues have been handled. This includes Vice President Kamala Harris's visit to Guatemala in June of 2021 to deliver a speech that shocked progressives in the U.S.
And I want to emphasize that the goal of our work is to help Guatemalans find hope at home. At the same time, I want to be clear to folks in this region who are thinking about making that dangerous trek to the United States-Mexico border. Do not come. Do not come.
Because of the large amount of migrants in Tapachula, many are staying in an area called Parque Bicentenario. Tents, blankets, and personal belongings are strewn throughout the park. In the early hours, migrants can be seen sleeping on the hard concrete floors, grassy areas, and benches. Accessing restrooms to start the day can be difficult for the migrants at the park.
The biological needs that a human being has, it doesn't exist here. There's none here. If you don't have money, you cannot bathe. You cannot sit on a toilet. You don't have any right. You have a stomach ache, I don't know what you're going to do. This is what's happening here.
The International Organization for Migration, also known as IOM, has an office in Tapachula where it is trying to bring awareness about what is happening with migrants in the city, hoping to push the Mexican government to address the backlog of cases and take action to improve living conditions.
The IOM promotes organized, safe immigration in humane conditions, and it is something we're working on at international level, at Mexico level. Specifically here in the Tapachula office.
There are migrants that have found other living accommodations. Kenia Michelin Castillo is staying in a dwelling that has been renovated to have multiple rooms for migrants so that landowners can make a profit off of them paying rent. Castillo describes it as a box to sleep in with a ceiling, but it offers something that other places don't.
It's not a pleasant place, but it does have human warmth. That's what I can say. Physically, the structure is not an adequate nor pleasant place, but there is a lot of human warmth. There are people saying good morning every day, and they make you feel that this is going to pass soon and that we're soon going to leave this place.
One might think that a government facility would be a safe place for people compared to staying on the streets, but there are migrants who claim that this is not the case.
Many migrants who I've spoken to in the city of Tapachula say that they are living in poor conditions. I'm here at Siglo 21, an immigration facility where migrants are being held. Some people who have been detained here say that the facility lacked access to food and other basic necessities. There are a handful of people here today who are waiting for their family and friends to be released.
I don't have good memories of that place because I saw the clear violation of the human rights that they can do with each person in all Latin America.
Castillo spent approximately 40 days in Siglo 21. During her time there, she claims to have observed and experienced mistreatment.
the environment was tense. It was tense because there was a lot of stress. It was very crowded. We were already sleeping in where we ate.
When migrants leave Siglo 21, many find themselves with nowhere to go. They resort to staying at parks, in living situations similar to Castillo, or in shelters. One of those shelters is Albergue Jesus el Buen Pastor. Migrants who are living in this shelter help with a number of things in exchange for safe refuge. However, the issue remains that there aren't enough resources for the amount of migrants that are residing in the city of Tapachula. This has left many feeling jaded with the system that is keeping them trapped here.
¿A dónde está el ser humano? Todo es corrupción. Yo vengo de un país.
Where is the human being? Everything is corruption. I come from a country. Full of corruption. And where am I? In another country full of corruption. Why? Why? We come tired from another country full of corruption. And we fall where? Why is this happening here? They don't let us move forward.
¿Por qué está pasando esto aquí? No nos dejan avanzar.
With the Biden administration's recent announcement to end Title 42, migrants are attempting to leave Tapachula. Only time will tell if the situation improves with less migrants in Tapachula or if the U.S. plans to put more pressure on Mexico to continue keeping the migrants there. That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.